I'm Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is Psychacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is sleep and death. In Greek mythology, Hypnos, the god of sleep, and Thanatos, the god of death, were twin brothers. I like to keep this in mind when I work with folks with death anxiety, the fear of dying. And I actually find that this fear is more prevalent among young people than it is among old people. Even a child can think, one day I will die. But a full emotional appreciation of the fact that one's own death is unavoidable and inescapable generally occurs in the late teens to early 20s. And this can be quite difficult to pass through. Many will ultimately see this as a positive experience, however, few would likely argue that it's a comfortable one. Now, as I've said, younger people tend to fear death more than older people. Why is that? Well, from the perspective of the 20-year-old, death, which at least could potentially occur at any time, were it to come now, would take 60, 70 good years of life. Contrast that with the 80-year-old, who may already have lived a full and happy life. This isn't to say that 80-year-olds aren't or can't be afraid of death, but in their cases, there just is less time left to lose. So the stakes are lower relative to the younger person. Even though the 20-year-old is at significantly less risk of dying than is the 80-year-old, that's not always how death is held psychologically. And the concept of stakes indicates why this might be the case. So this is where death anxiety in young people comes from. Now, why else might an 80-year-old have less death anxiety? Well, I think for a similar reason why we generally don't resist sleep at the end of a long day. If it's 11 a.m. and we're forced to go to bed, we would probably protest. We wouldn't be tired yet, and we would likely still have more to do. But if we were to work all day until arriving in the evening with a feeling of connection and accomplishment, if we were in short to feel as though our time were spent well, then sleep becomes a welcome respite. It's something that most of us even look forward to at the end of the day. Sleep is rest after a day well spent. Well, that's potentially true both on the scale of a day and on the scale of a life. And to bring it back around, I think that's why sleep and death are twin brothers in Greek mythology. The practice of embracing sleep at the end of the day is training for embracing death at the end of our lives. Sleep is practice for death. Since the two are twins, that is practically indistinguishable. And the best way to approach death is also the best way to approach sleep, as a welcome rest at the end of well-spent time. So don't hold back. Use your time while you have it, folks. Hopefully that makes sense. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify, please like, rate, and review this episode. And if you're watching on YouTube, please drop a comment below. Finally, if you'd like to schedule a consultation, you can reach me at psychackspodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.